Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Father. I'm Father John Dillon. I'm the pastor here at St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church in Durwood. I want to welcome you all here tonight for our very special presentation. The song the choir sang to begin with had the Latin words Dona nobis pacem, grant us peace. A very, very appropriate prayer for these times when there is so much violence and so much hatred. I first heard this song when I was in 7th grade back in St. Paul's School in Butler, Pennsylvania, taught by our music teacher, Sister Ann Joachim. So it brings back many memories to me of, just times of, just as a reminder for us to pray for peace. So what I want to use tonight as our prayer to open up would be a prayer that's attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. Many years ago, Mother Teresa of Calcutta spoke at the United Nations, and they were expecting a great address. So I'm not going to give a great address. I'm just going to have us all pray together this prayer attributed to St. Francis. So I'll begin with this. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. But it is in giving that we receive, it is in parting that we're pardoned, and it is in dying that we're born to eternal life. Amen. So I'll turn things over now to our program organizers, and this should be. I'm glad everyone has come tonight because I think it would be a very important evening for all of us. Thank you again.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Kate Reiner.
And I'm Chris King.
And we are two of the founding members of NNIA, New Neighbors Interfaith Alliance. And we're just so glad to see such a nice crowd here tonight. We thank you for coming out. Chris and I are going to speak briefly about what New Neighbors is. Since 2019, we've collaborated with over 20 faith communities in Montgomery County to help resettle refugees into the life of our Montgomery County community. We've served well over 30 families and many other individuals who fled armed conflict and violence in their native countries. They come from countries such as Cameroon, Central African Republic, Guatemala, Peru, Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and Ukraine. Many of our current families fled Afghanistan in August of 2021. Our gospel values led us to help these families create new lives for themselves, and we're so grateful that you have shown some interest in joining us in this effort.
So I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we do as part of the New Neighbor Interfaith Alliance. Every one of us is a volunteer. We don't have paid staff. And the key things that we do, our goal is to bring a family, take one of our families, and help them to become independent. And that's not an easy job for the family, coming into a new country. And if you're completely unassisted, if you maybe don't even know English, you don't know how the system works, how government forms work, it's overwhelming, and doubly overwhelming if you have children. So our goal is to make our families coming into our community feel welcome, and to help them to be able to succeed and become, eventually, citizens of our country. And I promise you that everyone we've worked with are going to be big contributors. They already are contributing. So we're so happy and proud of our families, and I'm so happy that you'll be able to see one tonight. Specifically, what is it that we do to help them be independent? Well, when they come, sometimes we work with resettlement agencies. If you're familiar with the IRC, International Rescue Committee, I think it is. Right. Bob will correct me if I'm wrong. The Ethiopian Council, Committee for Development Council, ECDC, Lutheran Social Services, who we've been working with quite a bit lately, and others, and certainly Catholic Charities. Some will bring them in. They'll work with immigration to bring the families in, like the key in the beginning, the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022, a lot of the families were coming in through resettlement agencies. But we also, and maybe even more importantly, work with families who come to us for help. They came, they don't have a resettlement agency to help them with the initial things. And so we do that. Primarily for most families, the key things we do are we help identify housing. And that's a difficult job, in Montgomery County to find an apartment that even can be, I can't say that anything's affordable, but to find the least expensive, place that we can find for the families to give them a home where most of them haven't had a home for a long time. And that's such a joy. So we find an apartment, we furnish it. Mary Kate heads up our education committee, which is absolutely awesome. What they do is they help register children in school. She and many tutors work with her to help our families learn the English language, ESL, English as a second language. We have, maybe 30 tutors right now working with individuals. We enroll adults in English classes at Montgomery College. We have our Montgomery College staff here tonight who work with the families too. Then a key thing we do is we deliver food to a lot of families. We work with our partners, the Muslim Community Center, the Islamic Center of Maryland, ICM, and these mosques provide Montgomery County Muslim Foundation, they're a big one, I don't want to not acknowledge them. They give us food, and we have drivers who deliver food, boxes of food on a regular basis to many families in the area. If the family happens to have a car, then we teach them how to go and get the food themselves. We teach the families, we work with them on budgeting, learning how to budget. We work with the families on, a big thing we do is driving people. We help them find medical help, doctors, dentists, and a lot of times, sometimes it has to be pro bono work that we seek for a family who may not be insured. Other times we have to find providers who accept Medicaid. And it sounds like, okay, that's easy. None of that's easy. And our volunteers are absolutely awesome, for the help that they provide. We drive people to these appointments. In addition to trying to help them set up the appointment, we drive them and take them, and we interface talk with the doctors a lot of times and get the plans, and especially families that have special medical needs. So we do that. So, and I guess one of the other things we do, we kind of become family with the families. It's not, it's not a job. We become very emotionally connected with most of them, and they're open to that. They've left everything behind. They've left their families behind in the country that they left, and so we kind of become surrogate families. We helped with 4 new baby deliveries this past year, becoming surrogate grandmothers and grandfathers and aunties and uncles and everything, and we're so tickled, with all the children we have. We help plan social events. We're going to have a big Thanksgiving dinner on November 19th for our families, and we help with a lot of government forms, which is one of the hard things, for, I'm looking at Eric, one of our volunteers. It's, if you think going to the DMV might be challenging, if you never have done a SNAP application for food stamps, or a Medicaid application, or some of the other ones, you can't imagine. It makes the DMV look like a walk in the park. So we do that too. And the thing is, this sort of stuff I might make it sound tedious, but the truth is, our volunteers stay on. I mean, I think that we stay connected. People don't say, "Nah, this isn't my cup of tea," after a while. You know, as long as people can, they do. And there's a role for everybody who wants to help. You know, some people, you know, they find what they can do and they do it. So we have support. You know, as Mary Kate said, we have over 20 communities. We have Jewish synagogues, we have the Baha'i community, we have mosques, we have Catholic churches, we have United Methodist churches, and we have civic groups like our Gaithersburg Beloved community, and that all work together with us. And we've become quite close after these couple years of working together. And a big advantage is being part of each other's traditions too, and an understanding. And if I think anything helps with peace, that would be one of the biggest things, you know, to know each other too in that way. So it makes us much closer. We get a lot of good support from Montgomery County. I think they recognize us now, and they really bring us into things now and ask us for, you know, to support them on things and help them with a bigger program for helping resettle, you know, refugees. I can personally say, and I think all of us feel we're grateful to be part of a county that values our new neighbors and that, you know, wants them to succeed and knows that they will be big contributors here. So with that, I see many volunteers, and, you know, I'm so grateful for that and for the work we do together and the friendship we all have. So with that, that's just a bit, and we can tell you more anytime you want to know about NNIA, or we have a website you can look at if you're not familiar. But what I'd like to do now is, I think, the heart of our program. I'm going to introduce our speakers. You're going to hear the story from both Samaya and Mohammed on their life in Afghanistan, as well as their journey to get here. And what you're going to hear is that they left Afghanistan, had to go to Iran, back to Afghanistan, then to Iran again after the Taliban takeover. It was a lot of hard things. Then they finally could get a visa to Brazil, was the only place. They went to Brazil, and then we'll talk about their journey up from Brazil through 9 countries, and till they got here, and then ultimately with us. So I think you'll appreciate their story is unique, but each one of our families has a unique story, right? As of today, we counted up, I believe we have 145 new neighbors that we're actively working with right now. And, you know, and each of these families, over 30 families, has a story that is just as powerful. So I would like to introduce Mohammed first, who's going to start off our talk. And we are going to have questions and answers after both Mohammed and Samaya speak. So you know, we'll hold our questions for them. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. First of all, let me say thanks for all friends. They provide this opportunity tonight, and it's my pleasure. I'm here, and I want to say I want to appreciate and thanks to all our life angels. They made our life miracles, and they help us to build our life after arriving our family here without hope, and after a 2 years travel journey. Let me start our my story. I'm Mohammad Mirzai. I lived in Saripul province in the north of Afghanistan. I have a wife and 3 children. I'm also a member of a big family belonging to Hazara minority group who live primarily in the north of Afghanistan. My last job was in the Afghanistan Department of Labor and Social Affairs as a General Director of Policy and Planning. And my wife worked as a community nurse at the Save the Children International. In our story, it's important to understand the history of Hazara people. Afghanistan is a multi-ethnic country. The Hazara people has always been discriminated against by the ruling systems due to their religious beliefs, different facial shapes, and smaller population. Between 1880 and 1901, King Abdurrahman ordered exterminations of Hazara people, and as a result, 62% of millions Hazara was killed, and the remaining were forced to escape their homes or were arrested and sold as slaves in the market. My grandfather's parents escaped to the north of Afghanistan, having lost everything. In 1979, the Soviet Union attacked our village and one of my uncles was killed and another one was injured by bombs. In 1985, when I was 3 years old, our family was forced to leave its home and escape to the Iran's border because of the war. That journey took 2 years. We were traveling all the way, village to village, by donkey. My parents hoped that the war would end and there would be peace during those 2 years. This was the first time our family lost everything. We lived in Iran until 2003, but never feel we had a home because there was systematic discrimination against Afghan immigrants. For example, we are not allowed to buy a home or vehicles, secure a job, or start a business. Afghan refugees in Iran were not allowed to leave the city that they live in. The fear of deportation was always with us, even if we were born there. In 2002, Western countries came to Afghanistan and brought hope for the Afghans, especially for minority groups and women. My family decided to return to our home in Afghanistan and became a part of an effort to rebuild the country that was destroyed by the Soviet Union and the Taliban. My family left Iran with nothing and they lost everything for the second time. While there were still signs of discrimination and intolerance against minorities and women in Afghanistan administration system, the presence and supervision of major international organizations and foreign countries forced the Afghan government and other systems to make major changes and achieve significant improvement. We benefited from the years of investment in Afghanistan from United States and other countries, which created major changes in people's life. Here are some examples from the 18 years joint work achievements by Afghan people and Western countries. First, accessing drinking water, health facility, and roads by 75% of families. Second, accessing telecommunication, the internet, and other markets. Third, empowering women and minority groups by hiring them in official positions and having them serve as members of parliaments and provincial councils. Fourth, supporting human rights and civil society, free press, and the rights of freedoms of expression. As a specific examples, the woman in our family established a non-profit organization to implement a project to build women capacity and create jobs opportunity. Its name's Kalam Social and Cultural Foundation. Kalam means pen. 2 years before the fall of Kabul, we feel situation was falling apart. I was working as a provincial director of economy. My sister and I received threatening letters and there were attacks on our vehicles. Life was difficult for us. We tried to protect ourselves, but some surrounding towns had fallen to the Taliban and the government could not win them back. For my family safety, I decided to resign from my good job in 2020, as did my wife who worked as a MIS assistant at Save the Children International. We moved to the Kabul. There I worked as a general director of policy and planning in Department of Labor and Social Affairs up to August 2021, and my wife stayed at home. Unfortunately, I experienced a bomb attack on one of our vehicles in Kabul, and 3 of my co-workers were injured, but I was lucky as I was not with them. Everyday situation had been getting worse, and some of the provinces fell to the Taliban. On August 15, 2021, I was in the office when we suddenly heard the Taliban arrived in Kabul. The nightmare had come true, and President and some of his close people had left the country with lots of money. He had abandoned his people and his country, and the people were wandering and running away in all directions in fear of being killed. Within 2 weeks after the fall, my house was searched twice and they tried to find me, but I was hiding. I tried several times to get inside the Kabul airport. I had American friends who tried very hard and told me that if I could get inside the airport, my friends would transfer me to the Albania. After my last attempt to help my sister family enter the airport, we witnessed a huge explosion at the entrance of the airport, in which 13 US soldiers and 180 Afghan civilians were killed. After that, I decided to leave the country as soon as possible. So I found someone who promised to take us out of Kabul and to Iran border. Our family left Kabul with lots of fear, and on August 30, we were able to leave Afghanistan and enter Iran again by paying money. We lived in Iran for 6 months in house of relatives. During this time, I went to the police station every month to renew my visa because living in Iran had to be legal. And every time I was interrogated, I tried to leave Iran as soon as possible because I had a long history of living in Iran and problems that Afghan refugees have there. When we got the Brazilian visa, I felt like I was released from a cage. We went to Brazil and stayed there for 6 months. The people of Brazil were such kind and supportive people, and I will never forget them. While there, I had a painful car accident, and our host, Pastor John, tried to find me a job, but he could not, as it was a rural area. With our host help, we went to the Sao Paulo hoping work, but I could not find a place to work because I couldn't speak Portuguese. After a few days of meeting with other Afghan family who living at the Sao Paulo airport due to lack of housing, they told me that they had found safety ways to get to the United States. I had doubts, but there was no other way, as I started a journey that had no return. I had to finish it. We spent 2 months on this awful journey. We traveled through terrifying forests and ocean and walked for days on end. We were in the middle of ocean for 48 hours in dangers. Small boats between the borders of Colombia and Panama. Only God saved us from thunder and waves. We passed through 10 countries: Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico. Most were dangerous to cross, and there was a possibility of kidnapping by armed group, getting lost in the jungle, and wild animals attacks. We arrived in Tijuana in north of Mexico near the border of USA in California. At midnight, we walked for 3 miles and then we crossed the border and went to the border patrol. We arrived on 29 November 2022 in California. They asked us about our country and ID and next took us to the center run by the police. We were there for more than 1 week. After biometrics and short interview, they gave us a referral letter to the Maryland ICE and then submitted us to a charity. I spent a week at a friend of mine house in California and next come to the Maryland to be near my sister. It was the 3rd time I had left everything behind and started again. As an asylum seeker, I still needed to get a work permit and we were not eligible for support for the government. I thought of going to Canada, but I didn't want to leave my sister. I spent days searching for a cash job, but could not find one. Some friends of my sister rented a house for us for 1 week, but it was not enough. I know about the American dreams, and I know to expect some difficulty in beginning, but I'm happy now. I came a hard way, but it was worth it. I hope to become a useful member of this society, and it will be my last move. With the support of NNIA family, we have established our small business here. We sell Afghan handmade rugs and handicraft made by women in our village, which is a big support for our family in Afghanistan. I have my work paper and looking for a job. My children go to school and we are safe here. I have some goals in my life and I hope one day I can be a member and supporter of NNIA. may I make changes in someone's lives and be an angel in others people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Now you're going to hear the story from Samaya. And, and I think a lot of her story is from a mother's perspective of everything that's happened to them. And I think in your programs, there is some of Samaya's writing. She's a poet and an artist at her heart. So I think, she's starting to command the English language better every day. And I think you can take home some of her writings and enjoy them. That. And the other thing I had wanted to introduce her children, who I think deserted us. But you've seen Sarah running in and out, Princess Sarah. But the other two, we'll talk to too. Isan is a 14-year-old freshman in high school, doing very, very well. I think his IQ is off the charts. Brianna is 10 years old and in 4th grade. And Sarah, who you've seen, Princess Sarah, is 3 years old. So she keeps everybody hopping. Samaya.
Hi, I'm Sumaya, a mother of 3 children, a wife, a daughter, a sister, and an Afghan woman. When I say an Afghan woman, I mean a woman who is trying to rise and root along a rock. Like an unwanted plant that grows on the wall, although nobody cares about her, she blooms with its wonderful flowers. I don't think any woman in the world as unwanted as Afghan women are. Young girls must marry very soon because their family doesn't want to pay for them when they are going to be a member of another family. The problem is they won't be a member of the new family till they have at least one boy. In place of wooden dolls, they are given a real baby. And these girls became the strongest people in the world. They fight for their existence every day, for every simple thing that you have as a human being. They are not allowed to protest, feel sadness, or even think about why nobody likes them. But they never give up. They always dream of a better tomorrow. I know hundreds of Afghan moms who went to school with at least 2 babies. The mothers who never thought they could go to school and they survived of giving birth. Many Americans believe the money spent in Afghanistan was wasted. That's not true. 10 years after the USA came to our country, we had hospitals everywhere. We had schools and college for girls. And society learned that women are an important part of the society. Life still was hard for women, but they start to be seen. They could go to school. But when I say they went to school, please never think they drove or even took a car. No, they mostly had to walk. Most people thought that a woman going to public school or college was too much money wasted for the family. Of course, some families know the value of women. These families are led by a strong woman. If I wanted to give an example for our women, I would say Afghan women are like trees that grow between the rocks. Nobody cares about them, but they are a habitat for birds and shade for whomever stay with them. I would like to tell you a little about my family's journey from Afghanistan to the United States. If I told you everything, we would be here all the day, but the journey was a test for all of us. After we decided to leave my home in one night with one suitcase, we went to Iran. We had been there for 7 months. We left Iran after we got Brazilian visa. We tried to settle there for 6 months, but my husband could not find job, and we were running out of money. So we had to make a very difficult journey through the 10 countries to finally arrive in the United States. This was the worst time of my life. It is difficult even today to talk about because it was traumatic for me and all my family, especially my children. My baby Sarah was 2 years old. The first sentences she said in her life was, "I'm scared, Mommy." We were on a boat in a storm. I could feel her little heartbeat when she was in my lap. Only God knows how much pain this world can have. I told her, "Don't worry, I'm here," but I knew I could not do anything for her. We knew if anyone fell into the ocean, nobody could help them. But we tried to show we were ready to do everything for each other. Another trauma involved my son, Ehsan, who was 14, in Peru and Colombia. Human traffickers separated him from us. For 2 hours in Peru, I did not know where my son was or how to find him. Those were perhaps the longest 2 hours of my life. In Colombia, human traffickers took him for 12 hours. I was frantic and trying to speak Spanish as best I could. We had to pay to human trafficker a lot of money to return him to us. By the end of the journey, we had spent all of our life saving. When we were in Guatemala, we were detained for 8 days by the immigration police. My baby got dengue fever. She had diarrhea and vomiting most of the time. There were 50 of us in a large room in immigration center. We were badly in need of a doctor, but there were long processing delays. Guatemala's hospital was very bad. A lot of time, they did not having running water. For 10 days, she could drink only 2 spoons of serum daily, and finally, she recovered. I could tell many more stories, but finally, we made it to the United States. We have so many people to thank for helping us to settle here, but I would especially like to talk about how the NNIA helped us. We had to leave my sister-in-law's family after we arrived to Silver Spring. My sister-in-law's apartment very quickly because her neighbor had complained from us. With the 2 babies, we were too noisy. Anne Gagné and Barbara Biritz rented a home for 10 days for us. We had 10 days to find a place. We went to all the refugees agencies, but nobody helped us. Even when the Afghan employers in the Lutheran agency found out that we were Hazara, they ignored us. One day, my husband was taking the bus home. He was returning after a discouraging day looking for help. The bus stopped in front of the Christ Congregational Church. My husband considered the stopped as a sign of God and went inside the church, and he started praying. He spoke with that church pastor. That church that now has joined to the NNIA gave us some money, but our big problem was still there. On that night, Mark called my husband. Mark Brislow and Chris King have come to our life, and we became a member of an NIA family. We had a new family and friends here. After we had our home, thanks to NIA, I could see healing in our children. The angels who Chris King gathered flew by one into our life. In 48 hours, the miracle happened. In February 2022, we found a warm home, a full fridge, and a big, trustful family. The whole NNIA family started to help us. Kind tutors to teach English, drivers to help us every time and everywhere, one angel for providing food, a team of beautiful women who work for the Women's Circle, and even helping us to establish our small business. The interesting point is that all the families of volunteers are working with us. When we ask a request from these angels, we just put a message for them. Exactly way you request a wish from an angel. No need to fill out the forms, no need to send a request email, and no more waiting. If they are not free, their lovely spouses will be. During this almost 1 year, I got many sisters and brothers who opened their hearts to us. I can say from deep in my heart that we couldn't have our life without an NIA family. They didn't give us only a home and clothes and then left. They stayed beside us to be sure we were adopted here. They monitored the children's growth, our business, our health, and every new issue that's happening to us. Chris and Mark come to our home at least once a month to be sure everything is okay. I can't even imagine how they do that. The only thing that I can say is they are angels whom God sent to our life. Thank you.
Okay, anybody want to top that? But these are, many of these angels that Samaya refers to are here. But I think Samaya is an angel in our life too, and for this country. So one of the things we're going to do now is we're going to, prepare to have a question and answer session. And I would like to introduce somebody who I would say, other than Mohammed and Samaya, is our MVP for this evening. And that is Patty Johnson, who has done so much work. She has worked with Samaya and Mohammed to help prepare for their talks for tonight. And she threw her whole heart and soul into this. She is Mohammed's tutor and English tutor, as well as she's become a do-everything. And her husband, Larry, who's here also, is helping the family with a lot of things too. So Patty is going to be the runner for questions. Melissa has asked, because of we are recording this, that if you want to ask a question, you wait till you get the microphone to ask the question so that we can hear it on the recording too, if you wouldn't mind. So with that,
statements or questions. And while you're thinking about that, we're going to be showing a slideshow of some images from their home in Afghanistan. And you will see representation of women on government meetings that was not there before. And you'll see Samaya teaching a number of women about their civil rights and some health concerns that they can talk about, all of which was a part of the American and the nonprofit organizations' investments in Afghanistan for those 20 years. So any questions, comments?
So how do families typically find NIAA, or how are you finding these families? I think you mentioned some of them come through agencies like IRC and so forth, but like Mohammed's family did not. So are there other families that come through without agencies?
I'm going to hand this to Chris because she's the expert. The question is, how do we find the families and how do they join NIAA?
Right. I should have mentioned that. We talked about the resettlement agencies, but more often than not, how the families are coming to us now is from word of mouth. This week, we have 2 families who have reached out for help. They're in tremendous distress. And we interview them and ask them if they can help. So we have, one today, our partner, co-leader Bob Cook over here, somebody sent us, there's a 16-year-old homeless girl, and we'll probably just, because her father was deported, we'll refer her to someone else, try to give advice. But we have now 2 families from Afghanistan who came in a similar way that Mohammed and Samaya did. And they hear of us, and then they contact us. And we decide if we can help them. Somebody had referred, we hope that we have the volunteer power and the financial, resources to help, and we try to do the best we can, and it's been amazing that we can. It's, if for those of us who are Christian, we have a gospel story of loaves and fishes, if you're all probably familiar, being multiplied when you need them. And we feel like that happens so many times for us to be able to help. But they come to us generally, most of them lately, from referral. Even the referral, Mohammed's family, his niece and nephew just came up yesterday, right? Yes. Just arrived here yesterday, so which was a surprise to us. But I'm sure we'll be helping them too.
Other questions, comments?
Thank you. This is for Mohammed and Samaya. Do you have any relatives still in Afghanistan that you're able to communicate with on a regular basis and to see how they're doing?
So the question is, do you have relatives left in Afghanistan, and are you able to talk to them, communicate with them?
Yes, my mom and 3 of my sister and some other relatives still there, and we can communicate it with them, but no through telephone, through WhatsApp and some way they can't identify us, our place. Maybe it creates some problem for us, but they are still there.
I will say, just to add to that, he is working with his older sister and a number of women in the village that he left, and they are developing these beautiful handcrafts and rugs. So they have been sending them here, and we are selling them, and he's sending money back to his family so that they're able to survive, but also to perhaps find a way out if they can. So there's a lot of communication in that, so I urge anyone that is in need of a rug or a handbag or shoes to please come to the bazaar on Saturday, and they'll be here. I had a question over here.
When you talked about financial aid, where do you, the community that you're working with, get the financial aid?
I'm going to let Chris handle that.
Okay. We get it. I said we have 20 communities that are members, and they raise all the funds in whatever way. You know, we go on bended knee to everyone. As a matter of fact, now that you've asked, there are envelopes and cards in the back. If you'd like to, you know, make a donation, we so welcome it. So it really is, you know, from individual donors so far. We are applying to be a 501c3, which is a nonprofit now, so that we can apply for grants. We didn't want to do that, but the only reason we have to do it, or we feel a need to do it, is because we can't apply through grants through our religious communities because of them being religious. So, but otherwise, it is every person we ask. And we're paying lots of rent now, you know, for a lot of families, and we're hoping, you know, to keep helping that way. But we do, you know, we cut that back. We want them to have a time. We help them find jobs. I didn't say everything we do, but a big part of what we do is helping people find jobs, where Mohammed right now is looking for a job. If anybody needs a master's degree MBA who was a high-level government official, but he's willing to take any kind of job in Montgomery County here. So, but we have lots of people that we try to help become breadwinners.
Any other comments?
I actually work for Montgomery County. I'm in movement now, and I'm doing like litter collection, and that's what we do.
So, you two need to get together. Over cookies, that would be great. Anything else?
I have another question.
Good.
So how do you find Montgomery County as, is it well, how are you defining that as a welcoming place? Do you find it that way? Is it a good place to have your organization and support immigrants?
I think it's an excellent place. I mean, the big, you know, negative is the cost of living here. The positive is the openness of the people, the diversity we have in Montgomery County that's beautiful. And, you know, it's not unusual to have many different cultures, and there's a lot of respect, and I think most of us who live in Montgomery County like that best about living here. And the county government is very supportive. Mark Elrich has a direct report named Kate Chance, and she pulls us together at all the communities, and we can tell her the issues we're having, and they've actually organized now a session where they're bringing I know we have people here from Catholic Charities and other organizations together, as well as us, to ask us, as well as government health and human services and offices, how can we better help these families coming in? So I hope it's a model for the whole country. You know, it's made me much, you know, even happier to live here because of how they've responded to us. And to not to us, but to our families.
Other questions, comments, thoughts? Oh,
I have read your work, and your writing is beautiful. And I wish you lots of joyful writing, and I hope that you can become a writer for your community, and that you might consider publishing a book of what you do, what you have written. It is beautiful.
I think we understood
That's
that.
great.
You want to
Everybody-
talk about your ambitions to write? No.
She'll write about it, right. Okay, well, I think with that, if you see some of the pictures here, we're going to have some closing music. I think. You've got to go back up there? Okay, but my husband's part of the choir. But before we do that, I want to thank everyone, a lot. I want to thank of course, our faith communities and civic communities who support our work, our volunteers who work tirelessly, our benefactors who donate financially to make, things possible and provide other resources, the furniture, the clothes, the everything that we, help. We have Eric here, who is our lead truck guy, and he's gone multiple times a week to pick up furniture from one place, donate it, and take it to one of the homes or our storage facility. So I thank them. I especially would like to thank our St. Francis choir. It was such an honor. I'm so proud of our choir is so good. I wanted to show them off some. There's part of them, so I think you'll find that. And I know this is an extremely busy time of the year for them in our church, so it was an honor to have them today. I would also like to thank the staff at St. Francis who supported and helped us with this event. Most especially Father John, who is not only, agreeable to this event, but he's such a champion for us with everyone, and I think it's in his heart. And I am so grateful to be part of this parish, because he's my pastor. And I think we all feel like that, who's gone here. And then I'd like to thank Melissa Egan behind the camera there, who is our communications director at the church. Donna Zezzo, who's our office, who gets calls and probably thinks, oh, Chris is calling again. But she's enormously helpful in everything. And then Tony Bosnick, who is our social concerns director for the church, our social concerns minister for our church. I'd like to thank them. And then now I would ask you, please do join us for refreshments in the gathering space. And like I mentioned there are envelopes and cards in the back. Should you decide you want to take one home, that's good. And to know that 100% of your donation is used for NNIA families, no matter, some of our faith communities have their own funds. St. Francis, we do like a collective one for NNIA that if you don't have a faith community that has a fund, Father allows Donna and our church to manage it. So it's all there. We have no paid employees. Everybody's 100% volunteer. Everything we do goes right to the family. So with that, we do have, people who graciously brought nice refreshments in the back. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming.